Oh, Nando. You beautiful, beautiful man. You could not have possibly made me happier than you have in this moment. Hello there, and welcome to One Musical Scene. If you've been a fan of this channel for a while, or being completely honest, if you have seen the last video that I posted, you will know about Nando V Movies and his, as I like to call it, collaborative video essay movements. First, there was One Marvelous Scene, which looked at great scenes from the MCU. Then, there was One Excellent Scene, which looked at great scenes from the X-Men movies. Then, of course, there was One Villainous Scene, which looked at any great scene involving any sort of villain or villainy. And it also happened to be the one that I participated in. Twice. Great timing on my part, honestly. And now we have One Musical Scene, which examines any scene in where music is a core factor. And as you may or may not be already aware, I am a huge fan of musical theater, so this is really good news for me, because I have so many options to go for. But interestingly enough, I found that the scene that jumped out the most to me in question to be not from a musical piece of media, at least not strictly musical. Now, I reserve the right to do more videos on this subject in the future, but for now, here is my entry. This is The Umbrella Academy. One Musical Scene. Now, before we begin, some context. The Umbrella Academy is a series on Netflix revolving around a group of individuals, all born with superpowers, who were adopted and raised by an eccentric billionaire named Reginald Hargreaves, who, with the help of a robot mom and a talking chimpanzee, raised them to be superheroes. The inciting incident of the first season is the unexpected return of one of the siblings at the funeral of said father, the sibling being 15 years younger than all the others, yet claiming to actually be a 58-year-old man in his own younger body. His reasoning for appearing? The world is going to end in 8 days. And if you think that sounds weird, I haven't even gotten to the time-traveling assassins in kids' mascot masks, or the aliens, or the secret society, or the goldfish with a robot body who smokes cigarettes. This is a weird show. It's also a show that is very personal. The series is very much about shared trauma, especially parental and familial trauma. Without going too in depth, Hargreaves wasn't exactly an S-tier father. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. This is one musical scene after all, so where is the music? Boy, oh boy, am I glad you asked. To answer that question, we need to talk about the Umbrella Academy's origins. The show is based upon a Dark Horse comic that shares the same name. Said comic being written by Gabriel Ba and Gerard Way. Yes, that same Gerard Way, who, after forming My Chemical Romance and indirectly getting The Ellen Show cancelled, decided to make one of the weirdest comic series of all time. The point is, Way is an executive producer on this show and thus has a lot of creative input. And since he's a musician, music obviously plays an important role. Now, the score is really good, but the Umbrella Academy has gained a reputation for its use of licensed music in scenes, like the cover of Billie Eilish's Bad Guy in Season 2 by The Interrupters. So you're a tough guy, like a really rough guy, just can't get enough guy, just always so buff guy. Or the diner fight scene in Season 1, scored to Istanbul, Not Constantinople by They Might Be Giants. Even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just like to go that way. Or even the dance-off to Footloose against the Sparrow Academy in Season 3. I've got this feeling that time's still holding me down. Oh shit! We're really good at this! That one in particular, you may have guessed from the title, is not what this video is about. Hey, you can't just look at the title and not take the thumbnail into account. That's like YouTube 101. Now, to be fair, I was originally going to talk about that scene because I absolutely love it. However, upon watching it with an analytical eye, I realized that there wasn't really much for me to grab onto. It's a really fun scene and definitely worth watching, but it's just that. fun. You can't really analyze it much further without going into straw-grasping territory. So instead, I decided to talk about a different dancing scene. Yes, there is more than one. This is the show written by the lead singer of a popular band, after all, so... Remember earlier when I said I wasn't going too in-depth with the trauma that the Umbrellas faced? Well, I am now. This is when I'm doing it. To shoo the elephant out of the room, this is a show about superheroes. Or rather, former superheroes. And while it is a show about superheroes, it's not a superhero show, if that makes sense. It's about everything surrounding that. You may think that being raised by an eccentric billionaire to be a part of a team of superheroes may sound super fun, but you kind of don't realize that the Umbrellas didn't really have any choice in the matter. Their upbringing was more akin to being raised to be child soldiers. It was less lab rats and more Ender's Game, if that makes sense. Hargreaves also isn't exactly what you would call a great father, or even really a father figure. He treats the kids like tools to be used and discarded, tattoos them in order to bind them permanently to his power and influence, and otherwise hardly gives them a second thought, leaving all of the real parenting to Grace, the robot. Hell, he doesn't even give them actual names. Rather, he assigns them numbers 1 through 7 and he refers to them by that number, even after Grace gives the kids real names. Wait a minute. A Netflix show with superpowered kids who are taken from their parents at birth and raised to be weapons, who have tattoos on their forearms and referred to with numbers instead of names, and coming out of it, one of them has powerful psychic abilities and a serious case of daddy issues? Oh God, it's... Anyways, Hargreaves seriously messed up the kids without even going into the individual traumas that each of them went through. Point is, understandably, most of them decided to get the hell out of there as soon as they could. They all went their separate ways, some of them becoming movie stars, others becoming vigilantes, and some becoming professional violinists. But none of them meet up again in the real world. Then they receive the news that their father is dead, and they all reunite to hold his funeral, together for the first time in years. And predictably, things start to fall apart very quickly. Conflict arises, with accusations of foul play, past fights rising to the surface, and differing levels of respect for their adopted father bringing out the worst in each other until, eventually, everyone is driven to different parts of the house. After a bit of silence away from each other, Luther, one of the siblings, finds his old record player. He takes out a record, places it on the turntable, and places the needle. The siblings can hear it throughout the house, and all alone, they start to dance. Just a little bit at first. But fairly soon, they put their all into it. The sequence keeps going until we see a large dollhouse shot of all the Umbrellas dancing to Tiffany. Alone, but together. Then that whole thing with the time-traveling 58-year-old brother and his 13-year-old body appearing happens, and then the show just moves on. Because, you know, they do have a world-ending plot that they have to get to, so they can't spend too much time on the quiet stuff, but you get it. But I want to talk about this moment. This scene is one that can seem like it's a bit random, sure. I mean, what scenes that involve people dancing aren't, really. But specifically, this scene really works because of what it tells us. First and foremost, it tells us that the Umbrellas are indeed siblings. We've just spent the last 20 minutes of the episode having all of them go after each other for their differences, but in this scene we do see that they are a lot more similar than they first seem at first. They just don't have healthy relationships with each other because everything in their childhood was tainted by Hargreaves. Pay attention also to the song choice. It's Tiffany's I Think We're Alone Now, because that's what they are now. alone. And that feels good for them, because for the first time in their lives, Hargreaves isn't there to impose his wants on them. Before, sure, they lived away from him, but he was still out there somewhere, and so some shred of his influence was still there. But now he's gone. They are alone, free from his presence. And even those who still have some level of respect for him still feel that relief. Even if the psychological damage is still there, he can't hurt them anymore. At least not in like a tangible way. It reflects the parts of their childhood that were bearable when he wasn't there, when they were alone. The Umbrella Academy at its core is all about this. Some of the most insane things you can think of happen to and around this family all the time, but at its core, it's just about this group of broken people who want to be happy and want to be happy together. But yet they're separated by this wall built by the damage caused to them by their upbringing. This is the first time in this show that these characters are truly laid bare to the audience. It shows you what they're all about and what their journey is going to be about. They're trapped, but they're free. They're alone, but they're together, and they're dancing all the way through it. Thank you so much for watching. I know I literally just did a video in this format, but in my defense, I didn't know that this was coming so soon. It also may be a bit messy and short, but I don't know. It's a short and sweet scene as well, so I think this fits. I just saw the prompt and knew immediately that I had to talk about the Umbrella Academy. I tried my hardest to avoid spoilers for this show, and I think I succeeded. So if anything about this show intrigued you in this video, I really do recommend watching it. It is not a perfect show, but it is definitely worth it. Huge shout out to Nanovi Movies and all of the other people who have participated in the whole One Musical Scene movement. These events are so much fun, and I will always be up for them no matter what. The playlist of all the other videos should be in the description and on the end card and in a little doobly-doo thing if I'm pointing in the right direction. I think I am. Anyway, go check that playlist out and check out all these other people's incredible work. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe and comment and all that great stuff. Feed the algorithm gods. Links to all my socials are also in the description, along with my Discord server if you're interested in that kind of thing. I sincerely hope that you all have an excellent day. And if not, that your day gets better. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Can we go home now?